Welcome to a new video of moving from Canon to Sony series, and today's video is Canon 16 to 35 f4 versus Sony Zeiss 16 to 35 f4. 16 to 35 is the first lens I packed for traveling overseas, and 16mm focal length is insanely nice on full frame cameras. I love it, I just love it. As a landscape and cityscape photographer, I do image bracketing and I use a tripod most of the time. On the other hand, I need sharp pictures from edge to edge, so I shoot all my images at f8 and f11. I don't really need the extra stop on f2.8 version and the extra weight as well while traveling, and that's why I choose f4 version instead of f2.8. I went recently for astrophotography shoot and I honestly had a really good experience enjoying the Sony 16 to 35 f4, even when it has no focus meter indicator on it. I set up my focus pretty easier than I used to do with Canon in pitch dark nights. Focus meter shows on the screen right after switching to manual focus. In fact, I didn't use the manual focus on A7 III. Focusing system is insane and could work perfectly in low light. It's not the subject today. Check A7 III and 6D Mark II astrophotography review to learn more. Canon 16 to 35 f4. It costs $999 in the US. Has image stabilization and IS on-off switch. Auto and manual focus switch button as well. Minimum focus distance 11 inches 28 cm. Same focus distance as Sony. 77 filter thread size. Made of plastic. Weights 1.35 pounds, 615 grams. 100 grams heavier than Sony. Focus meter indicator and the zoom and focus ring are rubber built. Sony Zeiss 16 to 35 f4 essentially costs $1,250 in the US. The design is simple with a few marks and text on the body. Lens front element goes out when zooming out to 16mm, and it went back to its compact size at 35mm. Has image stabilization which called optical steady shot, and without on-off switch button. 11 inches 28 cm minimum focus distance. 72mm filter thread size. I got step up filter in order to use my 77mm filters on Sony. It's quite light, 1.14 pounds, 518 grams. Sony boxes comes like you see it here, with no plastic wrap on it. This is the case with all Sony gears and cameras, not only lenses. Maybe Sony is trying to save cost here. I don't see it a good idea. Boxes can be opened and things can be removed or replaced easily. Be aware where to buy your gear. Make sure to check everything upon receiving. Regarding build quality, Sony Zeiss 16 to 35 is built out of metal, including focus ring and zoom ring, which make it more sensitive to be scratched. I only got these scratches, whatever you call it, only a week after buying it. I was taking very low angle from the floor level and seems the lens maybe touched the floor and get a scratch. I had Canon for 3 years and get it with me on each travel overseas and still like minty new. As I'm testing both lenses today, couldn't come with a proper conclusion. Sometimes Canon 16 to 35 is doing a better job, and some other times Sony copy is beating Canon. It has been a while making A7 III and 6D Mark II side-by-side reviews, and I totally noticed through multiple tests that A7 III images are 2/3 stops brighter than 6D Mark II. Thus, will reduce A7 III exposure by 2/3 stops, for better comparison preview. Sony is on the left and Canon is on the right side. And just for your information, colors are similar on both images, but back to color temperature values, 1000 Kelvin difference. Sony white balance is 5500 Kelvin and Canon is 4500 Kelvin. I'm seeing this regularly when comparing Canon and Sony. Color temperature is roughly similar, but the values are not. Never mind, as long as you get the same result. I'm here at 16mm f4, feeling satisfied with both images. And when zooming in to 100%, Sony is a bit sharper in the center. It's hard to tell, but it is. And you can definitely see how sharper Sony is when moving a little bit to the areas close to the center. Sony is remarkably sharper on edges. That was on f4, and still getting same results at f8. 1635 focal length isn't only for landscape photography. And the result I came up with here supports the previous review. I'm here at 20mm, and when zooming in to 100% to the main subject, the model, he's sharp and in focus in both images. And when checking edges, unlikely Canon becomes softer. Top right, top left, and bottom sides as well. This is a half boat or maybe a full boat. It's really catchy. So I fixed the camera on a tripod and did capture the image on both lenses at 28mm. The timing and the weather were totally bad. Then I did some edit in Lightroom to make it look way better. As an overall, here are both images, and when zooming in to 100% to our main subject, which is the boat, I can't see anything bad to say. Brilliant. Chromatic Aberration. Sony 16-35 f4 does have chromatic aberration, and Canon doesn't, which is I truly know. I've been using this lens for years now. However, you can fix Sony color fringing in Lightroom, one extra job for you. And here we are, done. And before I start Sharpness Test, you have to know the artwork you make is what's matter by the end of the day. On the other hand, it's good to know your gear limits. At 16mm f4, Sony has less distortion and is slightly sharper in the center and corners. And to be honest, I don't really see remarkable difference at f8 and f11. And both lenses quality becomes a bit softer at f16. I suppose nobody really uses f16 unless for long exposures, maybe. Results at 35mm f4 are not similar to 16mm focal length. At f4, Canon is a bit sharper in the center and the areas close to the center. At f5.6, Canon is still slightly sharper and Sony image is good. Both images are almost similar at f8, and at f11, they get sharp from edge to edge. Alright, Canon 16-35 is adapted on A7 III through an adapter, in order to check if Canon lenses will give the same quality on Sony bodies. At 35mm f4 for example, Canon on Canon is slightly sharper than Canon on Sony. Alright, lens flare could transform your scene dramatically. It sometimes casts bad flare effect, though I made two tests. First one is just directing the lens to my car spotlight, panning and tilting it around to see how each lens will act with direct light. The second test I made is basically moving the camera horizontally and vertically. This is the case when dealing with existing spotlight or sunlight in the background. This is Canon 16-35 with lens stabilization on. This is Canon 16-35 with 6D Mark II digital image stabilization on. And this is Sony 16-35 f4. It says it has an optical steady shot, but there is no button to turn it on or off, and I kept Sony A7 III IBIS on. Sony has no stabilization sound or noise, unlike the Canon stabilization motor sound could be heard easily. Yet overall, Canon 16-35 has some advantages over the Sony copy, especially in price, build quality, and no chromatic aberration. Sony copy is lighter, smaller, and most importantly compatible with all Sony A7 III and all Sony functions and autofocus system. I do not recommend adapting Canon lenses on Sony for everyday shoot and events. It's not gonna focus 100% accurate all the time, and most importantly, focus speed is slower than native Sony lenses. I believe the build quality of Sony G-Master 16-35 f2.8 is better than the Zeiss version. I hope Sony make a better f4 version in the future. And thank you for watching, and I would be glad to know your impression, experience, and feedback. And if you have any question, just keep it below in the comment section and I'm gonna reply as soon as I can. And most importantly, if you like this video, please hit the like button. This means a lot to me. Check other Sony and Canon reviews I make on this channel, and if you like this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Make sure to activate the notification bell. Stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching again, and see you next week.